church for the eulogy and the funerals today. I just hope my wife will be strong for this. And I'm gonna see the Hogan Xiao person for the first time. That's Pyrin, y'all.
Sumamayang kapamantok padulwo ni Moses. Ampun na dado sa dosa ngawi daw na iman daw na masa pa daw din dito. Salamat. Doakanlah kami yang berpujilah Engkau di antara wanita kami. Selamatkan yang prajurit-prajurit. Doakanlah kami yang sekarang dan sewaktu dan selalu dan sepanjang. Terpujilah Engkau di antara kami. Santa Maria, Santa Maria kami mati kami. Salam Maria.
Tumataya sa manip niya kay bagus ko. Kaya mengangkat saya buah. Dia nu pun akan ada kayu buah. Ya. Dia nak dalam semua. Kanan po, lurus po. Lurus po. Kapan, lurus po. Kanan po, kanan. Kapan po. Kanan po, kanan. Kado.
Diyan na po tako daw. Start daw niya, ano, dito siya. Pagkasa na po dito, habis di ba na, ano, dahil sa solid. Okay.
Three. Again. Andang tumulkyan, mamtin na walay. Aga, makola. Aukola. Hadi.
Tagong adik. Tagong.
Untuk memulakan misa ini kita sama-sama menyanyikan lagu Because
Sebab kehormatan seseorang tidak diukur menurut panjangnya usia dan tidak dihitung menurut jumlah tahun. Sebaliknya, anggapan
yang meninggal dalam iman akan Yesus akan dikumpulkan Allah bersama Yesus. Demikianlah sabda Tuhan. Saudara kami, Moses telah dikenyangkan di meja juru selamat kami. Terimalah dia ke dalam perjamuan surgawi. Kami mohon.
Kabulkanlah doa kami ya Tuhan.
dalam persekutuan dengan Roh Kudus Yesus
Untuk selama-lamanya.
brothers and sisters in Christ. As the wife of the late Mr. Moses Iking, I like to tell a little bit of story about him. We met when I was 14 years old and he was 17 years old, and we ended up getting married, received our sacrament in this very church, and we became one. So today, we are parted through the normal process of death, but we will meet again. As he's not able to talk to you all today, as a better half before, I'd like to take this opportunity to say I'm sorry for whatever wrongs or shortcomings he had during his lifetime, because as one, I am also responsible for whatever wrongdoings he has done. And as for his status, I want you all to know he's such a good man, he's a very friendly man, and as a result, he is well loved by everybody. And of course, tidak terkecuali juga wanita-wanita. And in the process, we cannot be together all the time. I have to leave him sometime. And during the time, maybe because of our nature, we become mothers. Men are always being nurtured by female. When the mother is not there, they tend to be lost. So any sort of mother, apa kita kata, pengganti yang dia boleh dapat pada masa itu, dia akan bersama-sama dengan dia. Jadi oleh itu, saya mohon maaf, khususnya kepada umat-umat Katolik di Tambunan ini, segala wasangka yang ada, beliau tidak ada kawin, walaupun dia mempunyai kawan-kawan wanita, ada juga mungkin yang ada dalam church ini, kawan-kawan dia, tapi tidak semestinya dia telah berkawin semula. Jadi di sini saya juga akan declare, my dear friend, my dear husband, today we are parted. I'm a free woman now, so we shall meet again. Thank you.
Many of you expressed shock at the suddenness of my father's passing. We didn't know he was sick, you said. Why didn't anyone tell us he was so sick, you said. The truth is, firstly, everything happened so fast that we as a family also struggled to understand what was going on. He was first diagnosed with lung cancer less than 2 months ago. We were told on July 29th that the wheezing and labored breathing that had alarmed my mother and made him go to see the doctor was the result of stage 1 lung cancer. But from then on, things changed so rapidly and so unpredictably. On first look, it was stage 1 lung cancer, which later turned out to be stage 4 lung cancer. It was initially thought to be limited to the lungs and potentially could be treated with non-invasive oral medication rather than the more traumatic chemotherapy. Then we were told that chemo was the only option, and Dad had to prepare mentally as well as physically to receive chemo. But in the short time that Dad took to agree to chemo, we found a complication with his liver that meant chemo was also no longer an option, even though my father wanted it so badly. And in the span of just 8 short weeks, from being able to move about independently, he became someone who had to rely on oxygen tanks to breathe and needed help from others for most things that healthy people take for granted. So the truth is, we hardly had time to understand for ourselves and to cope ourselves what was going on, let alone inform a large circle. And certainly he had a large circle of friends from different times in his life. university, his time in the police force, his chapter in senior management at Sabah Bank, post-retirement, his chapter in politics, and there are those who know him from his Peladang Association. The many different circles of friends and acquaintances that grew from his varied roles in life, his warm and open nature that would require him to open 2 Facebook accounts because he could not add any more friends to his first account. It was also his witty sense of humor. One of his favorite jokes was, "I wanted to become a priest, but then I became a father instead." He was a very caring person, and this was illustrated by a story shared with us by one of his friends, Uncle Michael Gong, who told us that during one of his gatherings, a drinking session with him and his friends, an unknown old man came to sit with them. The old man was drunk and he didn't know his way home. And what Uncle Michael told us was, "Your father stopped him from trying to find his way home alone. He convinced me to accompany him so that he would be safe. And he did this even though he knew nothing about that man. That's how kind your father was." So yes, my father had a wide circle, but he did not want to broadcast his illness to this wide circle because he didn't want anyone to fuss. He didn't want to burden anyone. Even when he visited my sister Daphne and I in KL, not being familiar enough with KL to drive himself around or to even tell the taxi where to go, rather than impose himself on taking time off, impose himself on us taking time off to drive him around, he would walk long distances just to get to where he wanted to go, like his favorite nasi kandar restaurants in Kuala Lumpur. The other part of why my father didn't want a lot of you to know was his pride. My father was a very proud man. To someone whose pride in his appearance was such that even when we, his children, were visiting him in hospital, he would be sure to comb his hair before we saw him. He even combed his hair before he stepped outside of the ward to see his 7-month-old grandson Isidore, because in his words, "I must look good for my grandson." So to this proud man, it was very important, probably quite important to him, that people not see him at his worst, to be saddened by his condition, but rather to remember him as the strong, capable, and jovial Moses that they knew. So sudden is my father's passing that in the limited time I had to prepare this address to you all, I cannot speak to his legacy as a policeman, I cannot speak to his legacy in the bank, and then again after that as a politician. I can only speak to his legacy as a father and a family man, gleaned from my own memories of him and those of my brothers and my sister. And it struck me how the simplest memories seem to be the ones that we cherish the most. Like those that my youngest brother Damien had of him sending him and picking him up from school and making him breakfast, even though it was just laying out roti and a drink. We had memories of him driving us around the English countryside where we spent our early childhoods while Dad studied law, playing Beatles and Elvis Presley songs that my sister and I can memorize to this day because we heard them playing over and over again on the car radio. A pen that my father gave me when I was about 9 years old that had my name engraved on it, Michelle with a hyphen Anne, and which forever then made me look to personalize most things that I give to others to this day. The way he would wake us children up in the mornings by blasting music on his hi-fi, the music steadily getting louder and louder until we would wake up, or if it took too long and he would be impatient, he would yell, "It's a beautiful day and you all are wasting it by sleeping." So that was my father, and the biggest legacy of my father, in my view, was trying to help others to strive for more than their lot in life. A lot of this stemmed from his own humble beginnings as anak kampung Tambunan, son of Isidore and Agnes, a teacher and a farmer, taken under the foster care of Dr. Anthony Gibbon, which as a consequence gave my father probably more exposures and opportunities in life than he otherwise might have had. And I feel that it was this leg up in this world that embedded in my father the urge to similarly extend a hand to others, to help them try to better themselves. This is how many of my cousins will remember their Uncle Moses. The Uncle Moses who encouraged them to go to school, who tried as much as possible to help with school textbooks, school uniforms, and school fees. He tried to help them in other, more subtle ways too. For instance, he would try to take one or two of our cousins on trips with him, to Kuala Lumpur, for example. And I remember on one such trip, on the return back from KL to Kota Kinabalu, he wanted to head to the airport several hours, if I remember 5 hours earlier than the required check-in time. And I didn't understand why. But then he explained, the KLIA airport is new, and Aman, I think it was my cousin Aman, has never seen such an airport. I want to give him time to explore the airport and teach him about what it is. And that was the kind of father that my father was. He was very strict with us children. He didn't allow my sister to take part in any extracurricular activities, so he prevented her from doing things that she loved, like singing and all the societies, even though he himself was a very good singer when he was in his heyday. We have a voice, all of us kids, because my father encouraged us to have an opinion. When as grumpy teenagers we would answer Dad's question, "What are you thinking about?" with a surly nothing, he would say to us, "Only fools or mad people think of nothing." Grew up in a household where knowledge was king. He spent a lot of it on encyclopedias for us children. And while we were waiting for this funeral service today, we found out that even his brother benefited. So Uncle Dick, he had an interest in carpentry, and one of the things he remembers most about my father is how my father spent 500 ringgit on a book on carpentry just so that Uncle Dick could learn carpentry. When all this happened, you obviously have a lot of messages streaming in. Condolences on your loss. Stay strong. Your father was a great man. Your father was a great man. Your father was a great man. And I think about it, I don't know that my father was a great man. He had a lot of demons himself. And as I was growing up, I think it was one of the tragedies of my growing up that I could see my father's failings. I could see his feet of clay and his weaknesses and character flaws. So I don't know that he was a great man. But I think of my mother, who stood before you just now. I think of my mother, and I know she is a great woman. She is strong, and she is wise, and she always cares more for others than for anyone else. And she stood before you today to tell you that their marriage was not always perfect, that they spent some time apart. But even in that time, when they were going through the most turbulent parts of their marriage, she would tell us kids, your father is your father. Whatever happens between your father and me, that is between us as husband and wife. But he has stayed true to you as your father. He has continued to sponsor your education. He treats you as his children. You must respect him as your father. And I respect my mother for holding to that principle. So while I'm not convinced, maybe with my limited perspective, that my father was a great man, I know that my mother is a great woman. And for her to continue to love him day in and day out through his dying breath, that says something about the character of the man that he is. And Mummy, I know that you wanted to tell Dad. I know you tried to tell him. I did the very best I could for you. I think he knew that, Mummy. And if I could put my voice to what Daddy may be thinking right now, I think he would say to you, thank you for loving me. Thank you for always doing your very best for me and the children, even though I could be so difficult at sometimes. And when the dust settles down and the house is quiet and the constant stream of visitors and the well-wishes is ended, this is what I want you to do. I want you to first to mourn for your mother, who died also this year, and who you hardly had time to grieve for because then I was sick and you cared for me around the clock, not even having time to rest. Because I was so scared of being alone, you had to tell me to the minute when you would be back to the hospital. Mourn first for your mother, and then mourn for me, Arun. But then do me one last favor, Arun. Really try to enjoy the remaining time that God gives you. We used to discuss together who would be taken first, and we always used to fight who would be taken first. But there is a reason he took me first. It's because he probably knows you are stronger. You are better equipped to do this. And so please, Arun, my last favor from you, I ask you through you, allow my children to feel my love a little while longer. Feel a parent's love a little while longer. Tend to our gardens for me. Enjoy our children and grandchildren for me, so that when the good Lord also calls you home to be reunited with my side, you will have many stories to share with me about the home and the family that we have raised together. And I thank you all for being here and joining us and saying goodbye to my father. Thank you very much.
I know it may not seem like there is much in my heart, but I am taking all of the steps to a speedy recovery. And I've knocked on every single door saying, please point me in the direction of this man that they call the Lord. And I have read every book about self-discovery. I've even started writing one called The Map to Creativity. And I packed up all my stuff and sat in the center of the universe for far too long. A ghost town, ghost town, ghost town. I'm living in a ghost town, where all of the elders are reborn because all their childhoods just passed them by. We accept everyone, just not the morons and liars. We have found that they somehow screw it all up. A ghost town, a ghost town, ghost town, living in a ghost.
A single dryer in the church today. People who came to pay respects. I'm talking about the thousands. Whatever it is, my father-in-law knew a lot of people. A lot of people loved him. That's for sure.
I went to your house and I took you right out, and you talked to me with your fingers in your mouth. Then you got down on one knee and said, baby, 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 will you marry me? And I put that ring right on my finger, and I took you home. I took you home to the ghost town, ghost town, ghost town. I'm living in a ghost town, where all of the elders are reborn because all their childhoods just passed them by. And we accept everyone, just not the morons and liars. We have found that they somehow screw it all up. A ghost town, a ghost town, a ghost town. I'm living in a ghost town. I know it seems like every page of me is a contradiction, but I'm doing everything I can to fix it. And I promise you a new song every single morning, and a new woman every single evening. And if for some reason you cannot do it, please just go home.
That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life.
Really? She can fix it all. A ghost town, ghost town, ghost town, living in a ghost town, where all of the elders are reborn because all their childhoods just passed them by. We accept everyone, just not the morons and liars. We have found that they somehow screw it all up. A ghost town, a ghost town, ghost town. I'm living in a ghost town, a ghost town, a ghost town. Ooh, ghost town.
Why Aki stay in this grass?
Because Aki is no longer with us. Iman? Aki is sleeping for a very long time.
Aki is with the Lord. Aki is with Allah.
Yeah.
Aki
So,
want to go to heaven.
One day, Papa and Mama will.
Mama and Papa also
join
will
Aki.
die.
So will you.
Everyone
So that's why
die.
we have to be very good in this world, okay? Must do good things only.
And then you need to go there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will all go there one day. When we get old,